All right, so I think I'm in the minority here. So I'm someone who actually came to Linux, GNU slash Linux. Um, I'm somebody who came to Linux from Mac OS, right? And here's what I think, all right? I have no data to support this. This is just a thought, right? I think it's possible that Mac OS users are actually easier to evangelize than Windows users. Okay, here's why. Because if you're like a normie, if you grew up in America in like the 90s and early 2000s, right? Even today, I guess kids growing up today, right? Well, what did you use? You used Windows in school, right? That was the computer that I used, right? I mean, my parents, their first computer was Windows 95, right? I remember my brother went to college, and so this must have been like 2008. No, sorry, it was 2005. I graduated 2008. So my brother went to college, and he got a MacBook. And I remember being like, why do you have a MacBook? Like, those things are doofy, right? This is like right when Mac was like gaining like a significant market share, right? But it was still like kind of like out there to have a Mac. Not out there, it was like a little bit like, cool to have a MacBook still, right? And him just being like, oh, dude, like, it's awesome. Like, you have to try it, right? And I remember kind of trying it and being like, I don't get it, right? It was like weird, different commands, and kind of being a little frustrated with it. And anyway, I just kind of decided to like teach myself how to do it, and I really liked it, right? And I think people a lot of like Windows to Linux users like actually miss what is really appealing about Mac. Especially to someone who like doesn't play video games, right? Which I never really did. I mean, I don't know, I play like Minecraft. That's kind of it. Don't Starve. I like maybe a few others, but like I'm not a gamer. Yeah. But it's not. It's Mac. I think people misunderstand. Like it's not just like, I mean, they're both just plug and play to begin with, right? Like we kind of know that, right? So here's my point. Okay. A lot of people who use Mac OS were willing to learn a new system, right? They learned Windows growing up, at least the basics, right? And then when they got older, they were like, oh, let me try this other thing, okay? And just in defense of Mac real quick, I will say this. Their hardware and their UI are unmatched, okay? It is beautiful hardware and it's a beautiful UI. Can we just give them that real quick? And you know who agrees with me? Linus Torvalds. But yeah, I mean, so that's just something to think about, right? So it's like, because people who use Mac, they at least they like the concept of like thinking differently, right? That was kind of like how Mac presented itself, especially people who are like my age, where like, again, like Mac's market share wasn't 15%, it was maybe like 3%, right? So it actually was kind of unique to have a Mac. And again, you didn't use a Mac growing up, and I know they're really easy to use, but like, if you wanted to learn new commands, right? If you wanted to learn some different stuff with the keyboard, it did take some time to learn that. So you had to adopt a new system, right? So if they were willing to adopt a new system in the past, I'm inclined to think they might be willing to adopt a new system in the future. That being Linux. So it's just a thought. I don't know. I throw it out. I see so many videos about like, oh, here's why Windows 11 users should use Mac, and like should use Linux, and I'm like, I don't know if Linux people are like I don't think people are intimidated by Mac OS, but maybe they think like Mac users are just like too far gone. Like, nah, dude, these guys are retarded. Like, we can't bother with them. Like, I think that's incorrect. And the other thing I would say is that like in college, like all my friends were CS majors, and you basically needed a MacBook to be a CS major, right? So a lot of those guys just kind of continue using it. Now they're familiar with Linux on the server side, but they might not really be all that familiar with Linux, maybe a little bit, but like not particularly familiar with Linux on the desktop side. But those are people who would definitely be willing to at least explore it a little bit, and would probably have a really quick ramp up period. So I don't know. I think it might be useful. I'm not going to do it because I don't know enough about Linux to speak about it at that level. But yeah, I don't know. If you shill Linux, maybe consider making some videos for Mac people out there. Anyway, that's all I got. Thanks for watching.